everyone, welcome back to Crazy Nines. I am XH98.
And I'm MARK5000.
And this is a 9x9 series where we teach you tips, tricks, and techniques about the 9x9 game. And I just said 9x9 twice. Okay, that's cool. Today, we're going to talk about Miai invasions.
Yes, we are. And some of our beginners out there might be wondering, well, what is Miai? And maybe you already know what invasion is, but how do I do that?
So, Miai in Japanese is actually a term described as kind of a situation when you have two alternate options. For example, if you look at this situation here, black has played Tengen, white has c5, so black can extend either side. So d7.
Right, we've already talked a lot about this position.
Yeah.
And the key feature about this kind of thing that makes it work is that white is flexible.
Right, so actually this is kind of Miai for both players.
Right, absolutely. You can't call it an invasion, I think, because it's too early, and neither player has established a presence somewhere. But it's still this kind of Miai situation where white can run either direction.
Right, so similarly, using this idea, we can apply it in our games. For example, let's look at an example.
Sure.
You've got a lot in your database, right?
Yes, we do. And we have kind of a Miai situation here where white can run up and white can run left.
Right.
Choosing the particular spot is kind of an art, and we'll get into how do you choose the right spot. Needless to say, at this position, there's lots of different moves that are possible. This is one of them. And
so yeah, if black takes g5, white can get e3, and vice versa.
See an example of that here. If black takes this one, white can move up.
Yeah, so it's this move at g3 is giving white options himself. And it usually happens in a game when you have a lot of open space.
Yes.
So and let's say like your opponent has built like a huge area in the bottom half of the board, and with the c4, the e5, and the g5 stones, and you want to invade. But actually the g5 is not there, but you get the idea. So you want to invade, but you don't want to run into a kind of a remote spot, and then your opponent can just attack you from one direction, and you end up having a hard time living.
Right. So there's actually a second invasion in this game because the top side is too large, and white just doesn't want to move out the single stone because it will get attacked.
Right.
So how do you choose the invasion on the top? You know, how do you what moves are you considering when you look at how to invade? Or maybe even on the first line.
Or the second line, you mean?
Second line, yes.
Yeah, I would not pick the first line. Yeah, the first line has a lot of positional bias because if you play
Let's just forget about the first line for now. Looking just at the second and third lines.
Yeah, I feel like it's the same with the second line though, because it's kind of remote, quote unquote, as I mentioned before. So FGH, I would probably rule out because you definitely want a spot where you can, you know, try to live some points. But then again, I was thinking maybe we should find a spot in the middle. So maybe like something like C, or yeah, something like B, C, or D, because A and E in the previous kind of list of choices are too positionally biased.
What do we mean by positionally biased? If you play here, you're looking to, well, you're really just looking to run one direction, right?
Right.
So it's a lot less flexible, and same with this one. If black plays over here, then well, I suppose you could live here, but I mean, you're already giving black a lot of territory on one side. Yeah.
Also, that the variation you just played, black can play the target's amount at d3, so it also hurts the bottom right white group.
Right. It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, so I would look at something like d7, e7, or f7. So the key to pinpointing that invasion is you kind of want to find an area in the middle so that your opponent will have a hard time making a decision where to walk.
Right. I think we can rule out d2 because it looks like you can run one direction, but the other may be a bit hard.
So you think C is the best one?
Probably B or C. In
Yeah,
the
B
real
or
game,
C.
White played here. White was Yamada Kimio, 7 non-professional player, and he won this game. This move makes Miai of running to the right and connecting up this group for life.
That's pretty nice.
I think so. Let's talk about some more examples. We have this one comes from a game I found on Sensei's library, where the players started off-center in Tengen, and then White is planning to invade from the start.
That's actually also a Miai invasion, even though
Oh,
it's
yes.
pretty open.
Broadly speaking, you can run one of these two directions. So here we
Yeah.
have another Miai. But when you take this move, right? It's kind of a small move, isn't it?
Right. So you would when you classify Miai invasions, you probably look at more of like a situation when you have already an amount of territory and your opponent has some open space, but maybe not so much.
Right. And you see, when White plays this move, White is already aiming at some kind of an invasion back here. If you didn't care about that so much, you could play around here, and we'll get into this when we talk about the off-center openings. But if you play this kind of move, then you can still invade at A, but maybe you can't invade at B or C, so you're reducing your options.
Right.
This is fine. And Black actually attached in that game.
Huh.
And White decided to make some territory, and here is where we see the invasion.
It seems that if White doesn't invade, he won't have enough territory because Black is getting too much beyond the E line.
Right. If Black gets everything east of the line, then Black will win the game. Therefore, White invades. And this is a pretty cool move because it makes Miai of taking the corner at A or extending along the side at B. This invasion was actually played by Murakawa Daisuke. He's a common name in Japan right now, but he was 12 years old when he played this 9x9 game and made this Miai invasion.
Yeah, sometimes Miai invasions happen on the second line, as you just seen there. But yeah, I like this one. It's pretty good.
Let's look at some more. So we have this kind of opening, symmetrical by both players. Again, if you wanna be pedantic, you can go in A and B. This is Miai. So we're looking here. Black decides to take one. Now, a kind of a concept that you have if you want to have Miai invasions available as an option is to be careful that the fighting doesn't spill over into the area that you want to invade.
Right.
So, for instance, if White plays this kind of move, then the game could be playable for both, but White can't realistically hope to invade down here.
Right, because there's a fight going on the top half of the board.
Right, and it looks like it's too closed off. So if you want to invade, usually you have to focus on making a little bit of territory on one side, and then you can aim at the invasion. So White makes the territory.
So to speak, establish a base first?
Yes, and invasion.
Looks pretty symmetric. Almost.
It is symmetric. So we have A and B again. No matter how Black attacks, White can do something on the other side to live.
Yeah, I would argue that this the point of symmetry, or the point in the middle, is most of the times is a pretty good invasion.
Right. And what we're seeing, a common thread here, is that usually the moves we're going to be looking at are tending to be in the center around the 5 or the E line, or also on the 3rd line in general. Which should not surprise anyone. If Black plays this kind of move, then White can still make the territory. White can decide to invade here too. It's a bit more difficult, but it's the same idea. This one can work because White has to keep at A versus the taking the corner at B.
It seems like it's kind of harder for White to live here, but yeah, it's an option. It's tricky. Black has to think hard about this.
Right. So that's why when you're thinking about how to develop the board, you have to be careful that if your plan is to invade somewhere, that you don't play around the left side area so that Black builds up too much that it's not possible anymore.
Right.
So you have to always be thinking from the very first move. If you want to invade, what is your intention? If you don't want to invade, then by all means attack the center of the board. If you do want to invade, however, you gotta you got to try to encourage your opponent to follow you in one part of the board for a while before you do invasion.
Yeah, but Miai invasions. So far we've seen a lot of the Miai invasions by white.
Oh yeah.
But as black, is there a chance that he can also play this kind of Miai invasion move?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's more common with the white player, because, well, one reason is that black's most common move, as we talked about at length, is Tengen. It's played in over half of games that I've seen professionally. And when black plays right in the center, then how are you going to invade? I mean, you could play this kind of move, I suppose, but it's
my favorite.
You can't really say it's an invasion. It's more like a probe, where depending on how white answers, you can play on one side. So when you establish a center move, like this one, or this one, then you're not really looking to be the invader. You're looking to be the invaded and to kill the invader.
Right.
So to have black as the invader, you have to focus more on the taking the territory in the center. This kind of situation happens in the game, and now black is thinking he's safe and wants to try some kind of an invasion. As we said before, we're probably looking at the third line here, simply because it surrounds the more territory. It's more hopeful for life.
Right, and in this case, black already has quite an amount of territory on the top side of the board. So as long as he gets a third line invasion, he should be fine.
Right, and that's the trick that we were talking about earlier. If you want to invade around the bottom somewhere, then you have to take territory and try to encourage your opponent to follow you in making you have that territory without letting him get too strong on the outward facing portion of that.
Right. So which moves would you pick here?
Well, I would rule out probably E right off the bat, and same with D, because they're not as flexible. Where this is not Miai. This is an invasion, but it's not Miai, which is why Miai is important. Black has A. Black does not have any other B. Maybe kind of this one,
but it's small and it hurts the top right a little bit.
Yeah, it hurts the top right, and you're not guaranteed life. So it's directionally biased. So I don't like them. I think that all of these could be Miai. In the real game, black played this one, which is A or B or B.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
Right. This was played, let's see, black was a player called Kurohashi Masayuki. He's a 9-dan professional from Japan. And he beat Takamiya Misaki as white in this game, which is maybe a familiar name to our viewers.
The god of influence?
Yes. Apparently not in this game.
Yeah, it's hard to take influence in 9x9, considering that your opponent can always play Miai invasions.
Right. This move is also possible, I think. It wasn't played in the game, but it seems okay. And even this one seems possible because you have A and B.
Yeah.
So oftentimes you do have a set of moves, and there may not be one right answer. It's possible that they're equal in points, but you just have to make certain that when you do invade, that you haven't played before that your opponent could make your life too miserable, and also that you have the Miai situation so that you're pretty much guaranteed a living shape.
Yeah, seems pretty good.
Right, and also for this kind of position, white intends to invade now that the corner area is settled. White in this game was Kim Pyeon-min, also a Japanese player, I believe, 1-dan professional. He chose this second line move, which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, I was surprised that he didn't pick the third line.
Yeah, I think the third line on this one is possible. Also, Miai. So I think what he's concerned about in this one, in the second line versus the third line, is that the stones on the top here, he doesn't want to hurt them too much.
Right. So if black comes, so if black comes over and let's say blocks at D3 or F3, doesn't have a lot of effect on the 3 white stones in top left. In
this kind of position, what do you think white could do?
I think he could Hane at d2. He might also look at jumping into the corner at g3.
Right. So we have this move. Black will extend here, and white might try to live, but it's not easy to live because you have this kind of this move which sours the mood a bit. So I think maybe he was concerned that it would be too hard there and wanted to just try this one without hurting the upper stones.
That's cool.
Is it? Yeah, I think so. I like this move a lot. And I think another example we can have is also from the Tengen spot, where there's a lot of Miai invasions coming from white's territorial move. And this should surprise no one because we had the situation before. White plays on the third line, looking for territory and eyeing the invasion. White is trying to invade from move 1.
A lot of Miai.
Yes. Oh. If you want to be pedantic, here you go. Okay.
I'm the Miai police.
So, here we are. The shape is settled on one part of the board. So now we invade. Where?
Well, in this case, you have a lot of options. You can look at the top side. You can also look at the right. Yeah, you can even look at the fourth line there, as there's a spot at C that allows you to do that.
Right. So many choices here. So what's good?
I would well, I would rule out some of the biased options, for example, or A or G, because they're kind of too much in the corner.
Right. So yeah, you're gonna get attacked. Or
this black can also get G5 and be happy with the top half. So
let's take C out too, because there's not really a Miai situation there.
Right. And I would also take H out, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, I think so. H could be A and B. But if we do this kind of a move, then we're kind of giving black the option of taking a lot of the topside territory, and we might be concerned about that kind of play. So white plays there, and in response, black would probably just ignore it, make white take the territory over here.
Yeah, so you have to be very confident about your own territory in order to play on the second line.
Yeah, you really do. You know, if black decides to come and try to limit white this way, white might think that he can live by coming down here, but then you're gifting all of the upper side territory to your opponent. So it might be too hard. So we'll take H out. And F also seems a bit directionally biased to me.
A little bit. Yeah, black can get D, right? So.
So I think all the remaining moves are good Miai invasions. In the real game, Kurohashi Masayuki, again playing as white, made this Miai invasion and made it live. That is Miai A and B.
Yes.
And also probably this is possible where it's easy to see the Miai A and B.
Yeah, that one's visually straightforward, I think.
Right. Probably B, not so much. I think that would be a bit directionally biased because you have A, but
yeah,
it looks a bit cramped.
So do we want to rule out that one as well?
Yeah, I think so. But that's what you do. When you get into the situation where you've successfully goaded your opponent into following you and making territory on the side and open enough space to make an invasion possible, the next step is simply to look at all of your options and then narrow down the ones that are directionally biased. That is, your opponent would clearly choose one side over the other for attacking, and try to leave yourself flexible.
Yeah, so you kind of just want to narrow it down to 1, 2, maybe 3 choices. But there really is more than one solution to the question. I would say most of the times. Some of the occasions you only have one option if there's not a lot of open space, but yeah.
Right. I think we looked at a couple starting with this move, where there's really just one spot because that gives me eye.
Yeah, but in the situation we've shown just before that, there's a lot of open space, so use your imagination. And reasoning, also very important. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this lecture today, and we'll be back with more stuff about 9x9. What's for next episode, Mark?
Next episode, why don't we go back to opening? We will try the second most popular move, which is G6.
Yeah, I've been having a hard time against that one, so I'll have to take a good look. I've lost so many games recently. Not even fun anymore. Anyways, that is Crazy Nines episode 6. Hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Bye!